And trust me, this economy is not coming back. It's going right down the tubes in a rather slow and ponderous death spiral, but that's what it is, a death spiral, because of the weight of compounding debt that our money system incurs. If we can fix all that, just by doing one simple thing, and that is finding a group of honest individuals who will really look honestly at the inflation numbers and adjust the quantity of money in the system, debt-free, valueless money issued by Congress, so as to keep inflation at zero on a per capita basis, then don't you think that would be worth giving a try, seeing as how we've done it 3 or 4 times before in American history and it's worked great, seeing as how every time it's been used anywhere throughout the world where you control the quantity, it works great and takes the power out of the hands of the bankers and puts the power into the hands of the elected government.
Yeah, it would be humankind's escape from serfdom, as you note. Let me ask you this. As it relates to silver and the demonetization of silver in the late 1800s, which was extremely unpopular amongst the working class, tell us a little bit about silver and your views on the current situation in the silver market.
Well, yeah, back in, there was this big fight in the post-Civil War Depression because the post-Civil War Depression was far deeper and far longer than the Depression of the 1930s, where the amount of currency in circulation was deliberately pulled out of circulation so that the bankers who held all the gold could completely buy up assets. This is very well documented that they did it deliberately, and the American people reduced, I believe the exact figure was to an amount of per capita amount of money less than $7. I think it was $6.67 per capita. That's all the money that was in circulation. And so the populist movement, this was the whole genesis of the populist movement, because they wanted to include silver money. They wanted silver was being wildcatted out of the West. It was being discovered in vast quantities, and the way it was originally was you could take a quantity of silver bullion to the U.S. Mint, and they would turn it into coins for free, and that would get money into circulation. But in 1873, the bankers got through Congress a bill called the Crime of 73, outlined that, where they had to go back only on a gold-backed money system, just as the British killed colonial America by forcing them back onto a gold-only money system, which caused a deep depression, which, according to Benjamin Franklin, was the root cause of the American Revolution. Every time you go onto a gold-only money system, it turns into a deep depression. And it just makes sense. It's because it takes money out of the system. Now, everybody seems to be worried today about inflation. And, yeah, there is some commodity inflation because the money changers, the guys, all this stimulus that Obama pumped into the economy didn't come back to us. It went to the big banks, and they aren't lending it out because they're using it to play in the commodities market because they've been run out of the real estate market because it's collapsed. 90% of the wealth of every individual American is tied up in its real estate and its 401ks. How's your real estate and 401ks doing right now? If you're like everybody else, it's down between 30 and 40%. I don't call that wealth inflation. I call that wealth deflation. I don't think we're in a recession, much less a growth period. I think we're in a 1930s-style depression, and it's not going to get better.
Well, Bill, let me ask you this then. A lot of Ron Paul supporters in our midst. I'm certainly one. And, Dr. Paul is definitely passionate as you are, and he's a decent, honest man. Where is he wrong on this returning back to the gold standard? And I guess the second part of my question is really an inference that maybe what he's saying as the need for us to return to a gold standard is that it is the lesser of two evils. Either stay on the current system or at least go back to where we were prior to Nixon taking us off the gold standard. But you're really saying we need to go a step further. So, Bill, as it pertains to Dr. Paul and the good fight that he's been waging, what's wrong with the simple idea of just ending the Fed?
Dr. Paul, I just don't know where he's coming from. I've met him. I like the guy. He's been steadfast against the Fed. But as Milton Friedman told me when I sent him the first cut of the Money Masters, to just be sure I didn't have anything too wrong, he called me back up, and the first words out of his mouth was, "Boy, if you kill the Fed and don't do anything about fractional reserve lending, you've done nothing." And that completely blew me away, and we had to rejigger around the editor of the Money Masters because he was right. He knew to a much deeper depth of what was going on than I did at that point. And there's two things that have to happen. You have to eliminate the ability of the federal government to borrow, and you have to eliminate the ability of the big banks to lend money they don't have. This is called fractional reserve lending, where they're supposed to be only lend out 10 times the amount of money they had. We found out that during the congressional hearings after the 2008 debacle, that the big banks, J.P. Morgan, Citi, et cetera, were leveraged 52 to 1, not 10 to 1.
Right.
Freddie and Fannie were leveraged 72 to 1, not 10 to 1. And Goldman Sachs was leveraged 333 to 1, not 10 to 1. And then about 6 months ago, President Obama got on TV and had the audacity to say, what we really need to do is eliminate the reserve requirement altogether. In other words, 333 to 1 is not sufficient. Only infinity will do for these bankers. It's not what backs your money that's important. It's who controls the quantity. And when you have bankers controlling the quantity of American money, you have rule by bankers, not rule by we the people. Dr. Paul makes the horrible mistake of using the term constitutional money. The only place the Constitution refers to how money should be constituted is in Article 1, Section 8 and Section 10, wherein it states only that the states must pay their bills in gold and silver coin. It makes no mention of the federal government, and even though subsequently the Supreme Court has ruled that the federal government does have the right to issue its own money. And after all, that's what coins are. Coins are debt-free money. We could pay off the entire national debt in quarters and then just forbid the federal government from borrowing any more money, and everything would be fine. You don't even have to go to the U.S. note route, debt-free U.S. money, replacing Federal Reserve notes with U.S. notes. You could pay them off in quarters.
Now, Bill, let me ask you this, though. Let's say that what's not going to happen is tens of millions of Americans aren't going to wake up in the near future, and they're not going to march in the street, and they're not going to take their government back, and we're not going to get an honest monetary system. What can people do? What do you suggest people do to protect themselves? Any advice for us?
Oh, well, yeah, sure. Gold and silver is a great investment. I'm probably 80% in silver and silver mining stocks in my 401k myself. And I watch, in fact, right now I've got the price of spot silver up on my screen. I watch it on a minute-by-minute basis. It's $39.45 right now. So, yeah, it's a great investment. But you cannot back your money with anything of value because especially today in the days of electronic trading, the rich guys of the world will immediately buy up the backing. It's insanity. We've tried it time and time again in this country and in other countries, and it doesn't work. The gold bugs make the horrible mistake thinking that by tying the money to a quantity of a precious metal, you're going to be able to control the quantity. And it's a fallacy. It's never worked in the past. It will not work in the future. And the internationalist guys of the world want nothing more than a return to a gold-backed money. Germany would not enter the euro unless they tied it 40% to gold. Why? Because they owned a lot of gold.
Right. Well, Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about your new book, No More National Debt?
Well, it goes through the history of this, because what I see coming down the pike here is further collapse, and it'll go in spurts and starts and all that sort of thing. And we're going to see the day come. Mark my words. This day will come that after a further collapse, we're going to see an internationalist gold-backed solution offered to a starving world, even here in this country, and we're probably going to take it. And the whole reason I did the Money Masters, The Secret of Oz, and now No More National Debt is trying to head off this decision point, which is rapidly coming upon us. If you don't understand, you've got to try to understand that to serve the public interest, to keep money out of the hands of the money changers, the only way you can do it is to have money be valueless. You just have to control the quantity. And after all, inflation is not the big problem here. Deflation is. They keep throwing up the inflation bugaboo to try to scare people. It's just not the case. Until your house is worth more than it was in 2008, I wouldn't be worrying about inflation. Yeah, we might have minor inflation in food and other commodities where the money changers are throwing all of their speculative money, but until you see your house price starting to go up, I wouldn't be worried about inflation. And when it does come, then we can suck money out of the economy through taxation. But at this point right now, if we went to this system, we wouldn't need income taxes for sure.
Bill, how can folks find you on the Internet, and how can folks buy your book?
Well, you can get the video at www.secretofoz.com, and the book's available at billstill.com, and that's still without an S on the end.
Well, Bill, is there anything else that we missed, or anything else that's really important to you that you think we should discuss before we lose you?
The economy is going to continue its slow collapse. We're going to be stampeded into a gold-backed world, and it's a terrible mistake.
I really, really thank you very kindly for your time. You're a nice man, and I want to thank you for the education, too, that you've provided me and others, because, again, Money Masters for me was just an absolute eye-opener. Well,
thanks for having me. I hope we can somehow dispel this notion that there is not even a concept of constitutional money. The gold bugs love to throw around this term, but it's just not true. Read the section in my book. I'll be happy to send you a complimentary copy if you email me an address. Oh, well, geez, thanks so much. Well, guys, you heard it here from documentary filmmaker and author Bill Still. Bill, we can't thank you enough for your time. We really do appreciate it. Sure, my pleasure. Okay, take care, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Friends, be sure to check out and subscribe to Bill Still's YouTube channel and check out his website. Links below. And as always, thanks for watching.